Welcome back to part 2 of my glitch shop track walkthrough. Today I want to concentrate on all my drum and percussion elements I used in this project. Let's begin. Okay, this is my main drum folder or drum bus, you name it. It contains all of my drum and percussion elements here. First of all, we have the main drums. It's the main drum kit. In this case, the main drum groove contains the kicks, snares, hats, some rides, crash layer to fill up the top end a little bit. Yeah, it sounds like this. Yeah. Okay, my main kick. It's a sample I did a while ago for my sample pack, which will be released in, I think, 100 years. With some tool plugin here to make it completely mono. Some EQing, some compression here. I used the solid bass comp from the Native Instruments Complete Ultimate 11. Really love this stuff. And some camel fat. I only used the distortion section here for some tube saturation to make it a little bit more gritty and also a little bit louder. Then I have some kind of secondary kick, pre-kick. It's the same sample. I shortened it, filtered out some of the low end here. Yeah, sounds like this. Yeah, all the pre-hits. Okay, next up, the snare drums. The snare in this project is made of 3 different layers of snares. One of them is the main snare. It's also a snare I did by myself. The Phaera block snare. Digging this name. With some mid-side EQing to filter out the low end in the side signal. Next up, also a sample by myself, a more clappy feel to give it more character. Some more EQing here. And last but not least, some kind of white noise layer. I layered it on top to have a little bit more high end in the signal. Yeah, it's not necessary, but I like it the way it sounds. Main processing on this snare, some more EQing. Boost the fundamentals, filtered out some frequencies, some unwanted frequencies, some more transient master to get more attack, a little less sustain to shorten it, 1 knob feather, and once again camel fat, some tube saturation and some Mac. Then we have some hi-hats going on here. There. On the hi-hats I use some distortion to shape my transients. Most of the time I use distortion instead of a compressor. It sounds a little nicer, I think. Some more EQing here. And here, some dynamics. This is my sidechain compressor here. As I already told you, everything except the kick and the drum, the kick and the snares are sidechained to make some space for the kick and the snare. Yeah. Okay, next up, some simple rides and some top end here. Yeah, pretty standard stuff. Next element, my tom-toms. Sound like this. Yeah, I used the Abbey Road Modern Drummer. This library is also part of the Native Instruments Complete Ultimate 11. Pretty nice sounding drum samples here. Some EQing, some OTT, some transient designer here, and once again some distortion from Camel Fat. Without all this processing, the toms sounded a little weak. With the processing, can you hear the difference? Pretty powerful. Okay. Next up, the build-up snare. It's just a random snare sample thrown in a sampler with some compression and some EQing here. Nothing too fancy. Yeah, just a filler. A reverb snare, also just a filler. Yeah. Then we have the crash cymbals. Yeah, standard crash samples here with a lot of processing. Yeah, such as reverb, compression, EQing, some delay to make it a little bit wider, and the ducking compressor. Without the processing, sounds like this. And with it, yeah, you can tell the difference here. Wider, longer, brighter. Next up, a percussion loop. I took a loop I did a while ago, cut it up and loaded in this drum machine and rearranged it via MIDI. Yeah. Pretty standard stuff here. Another drum loop. In this case I used the Superior Drummer. Standard New York City Avatar preset straight out of the box. I took my electronic drum kit here, jammed along and came up with this little loop here. Some compression on this, some transient designer, some Camel Fat again. I use Camel Fat a lot, especially this 4 knobs here, mainly the tube and the neck. Some EQing, also some ducking here without the processing. Yeah, all together sounds like this. You can tell the difference here. Without the loops, it doesn't sound too funky and too groovy. Okay, next up, drum fills. I called this classic fills because they sound like old vinyl drum fills from the 60s and 70s. I'm sure, I think I used the Abbey Road 50s drum library for this with some processing. Just bounced it down and rearranged it. Yeah, also some EQing, some sausage fattener, and some OTT without processing. Louder, fatter, brighter. Okay, then we have these epic drums here from the breakdown section. In this case I use the Damage library, Standard Studio Armageddon Ensemble, with some EQing here and some OTT. Also added some sidechain compression here. Yep, where it is. Hello. Here. Yeah, and last but not least, this little shaker here. Yep. Processing on the drum bus. In this case I used the Isotope Pt.2, my go-to plugin for distortion. I used the tape saturation pretty low in the mix and some bus compression here without the processing. Solo it. That sounds a little brighter and a little tighter. Yeah, that's my drum bus here. This filter here, I used it only in the intro to filter in the drums. Some automation here. Yeah. Okay. I think this is all for now. I hope it isn't too boring. As I already told you, it's really hard to do these kind of videos because I'm from Germany. English isn't my native language. And it's also the first time I'm doing this kind of videos, and yeah, it's really hard to keep it going, to make it fluid, and yeah, I apologize for all the mistakes I did, but hey, it only can get better. Okay, till then, see you in part 3, where I wanna concentrate on the sub bass and my basses. Till then, see you soon, and if you like it, give it a thumb up.